All right, what's going on, guys? Today is March 2nd, 2026. Back here with another new workshop. Don't know how long this one's going to be today, but we're going to be talking about musicians dieting, so food habits, eating habits, things like that. Something I wanted to touch on for a little bit, and I didn't know kind of the direction I wanted to go with it, but I found a couple articles to leave you guys in the description of the video that are going to be pretty beneficial, I think. And the one we're going to go over today is by the Strad, and it's called What's for Dinner? How Nutrition Has an Effect on Musical Performance. And this is something that can obviously apply mostly to vocalists, singers, rappers as well. But I think something we overlook sometimes is, instruments. If you play an instrument live, or if you're just in the studio, your studio performance is a thing too. Trying to get the most out of studio time, whether you're a producer, engineer. So to me, this stuff applies pretty much across the board, no matter what you do. So I'm not sure if this article is going to touch on everything specifically, but what I would recommend is just keeping in mind how this relates to you specifically, as opposed to what it might be talking about in this article. And same with the other article. The other article is from Berkeley, and that one is called Healthy Eating and Lifestyle Tips for Touring Musicians. So that one is strictly for, bands on tour, artists on tour, or anybody that is a musician who joins an artist on tour. Obviously, that would apply to as well. Well, let's get right into this. This is kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say a long article, but it's got some, different sections to it, so it might take a little bit, but I'm going to try to keep it relatively concise. It says there is a lot of information out there about nutrition and its effect on health and performance. In most cases, the topic revolves around general health and or performance in sport, but hardly do we ever come across nutrition and musical performance. Considering that musicians are athletes of the small muscles, this becomes a topic worth addressing, especially when taking into consideration the lifestyle that we lead. Portfolio careers, grueling rehearsal schedules, taxing concert programs, late nights, and the cherry on the cake, which is touring. Now, some people might not do a lot of these things, myself included. Never been on tour, never performed live in any way. But again, you have to kind of keep this in mind based on what you do. So for myself, unfortunately, a lot of what I do is revolving around sitting at a desk or just sitting anywhere really around the house, on my laptop, usually kind of like hunched over the computer all day, not always getting a lot of exercise, so that's a big factor for me in, how I choose what I'm eating, or I guess supposed to be eating, because I found that a lot of this stuff I'm not doing that great at currently. So a lot of this stuff is things I can apply as well. And that gets us into these main points here. A balanced diet is a must for everyone. And what this means is that ideally, you get an adequate amount of the 7 key components throughout the course of your day. These being proteins, carbohydrates, fats, fibers, vitamins and minerals, and of course water. I'd say out of all those, the only one that I'm doing pretty well is water. Pretty much cut down, I got a bottle right here actually, pretty much cut down my caffeine intake pretty significantly over the last year or so. And I've tried to focus more on just drinking water as much as possible. And I try to aim for 2 to 3 bottles a day, which is kind of, I don't know the exact range that you should be at, but it's kind of close to the range. You don't want to drink too much water because you can't overdo it. I try to go like somewhere in the middle, but there's a certain amount of like quarts or whatever, however they measure it, there's a certain amount of water intake that you're supposed to have, mostly depending on like your height and your weight, things like that. But for the most part, I've never drank alcohol, and I used to drink a lot more caffeine. I used to drink Sprite, I used to drink Coke a lot, Pepsi, things like that. but I've cut those pretty much almost completely out. You know, I'll have a Sprite every now and then. Dark colas, hardly drink any of them anymore. I might drink root beer every now and then, but root beer doesn't have caffeine in it, which is nice. But I try to limit those as much as possible because they're not good for your health long term, and they also have a lot of sugar in them too. And I don't drink coffee, so like a lot of you guys watching, you might drink coffee every single day. I cannot relate to that. Never drank coffee day in my life. Not a fan of it, and I just think it's a big waste of money personally. But if you have, you know, any type of issue with buying coffees every day, or if you really need it, just try to like consider maybe cutting back a little bit and integrating more water into what you're doing. But a lot of this other stuff I'm really not as balanced in. Examples of proteins are obviously meats, so like fish, you know, beef, pork, whatever. That's all considered protein. Carbohydrates are examples: rice, pasta, fruit. I feel like I do pretty well at carbohydrates. Proteins here and there for sure. Fats, obviously that's one that I really need to work on. But examples are avocados, egg yolks, and nuts as healthy options. So if you're gonna, you know, consume things that have fatty, you know, things in them, try to make it a little more healthy. Fibers are fruits, vegetables, whole grains. I try to eat bananas every now and then because I know that that's a lot of fiber in those. Vitamins and minerals, fruits, nuts, dairies, and its alternatives. So that's pretty obvious too. I do a lot of dairy, probably too much dairy. Again, another thing I'm trying to not really completely get rid of, but just kind of make it a little less and maybe incorporate some more of those healthy options as well. So that's like what my journey's looking like at this current stage in time. But again, it's something I'm trying to be more conscious of, especially as someone that, you know, obviously I have my day job, I do other things, I'm out and about. You know, I'm not always by the computer, at a desk, whatever. But there's a lot of days where I'm just locked in and I'm not really exercising a ton, and I might just be eating whatever is readily available. Being conscious of that and just saying like, how do I get better at trying to live more of a healthy lifestyle? Back into the article here, it says the first step is to focus on which components are usually missing from your meals and then introducing them throughout the course of the day. How do these 7 components impact your performance? Proteins are essential to repair, build, and grow muscle. During the day, our bodies occur micro injuries from activities such as playing our instruments. Along with sleep, protein is needed to repair these micro tears, strengthening tissues to avoid more serious playing related injuries. And again, this could apply to, obviously vocally, you hear about singers getting vocal damage, which happens a lot more than you would think. I always think of drummers, like how intense drumming really is on your hands, things like that. Playing any type of wood instrument or brass instrument, that's a lot of, you know, pressing and changing chords and changing rhythms, depending on what genre you play too. It's a lot of work, so definitely very important there. Carbohydrates equip our bodies with a prime source of energy, fueling muscles for prolonged or high intensity activities. Carbohydrates should be a mix of complex grains, rice, pasta, and simple carbs such as fruit. Consuming carbs prior to and during concerts when on tour, for example, helps our bodies replenish our energy stores, preventing fatigue and maintaining performance. Eating carbs post rehearsals will also help with recovery. Fats, though slower to be used as fuel, provide a more sustained energy source during long durations of low to moderate intensity activities. This means that eating good fats will help you have sufficient energy to help you through long rehearsals, providing you with a sustained energy supply. And obviously, again, it says good fats. So there's, putting sugary stuff and a lot of like junk food into you. And then there's putting those good ones that they mentioned earlier. Totally different thing. But you definitely need fats in your diet no matter what, but it's better to have the good ones for sure. Fiber is important because not only does it provide sustained energy and helps the gut health or your gut health, it also helps with weight management and can reduce inflammation. This is vital for anyone engaging in intense training, such as rehearsal regime for musicians on tour. Then we got vitamins and minerals. They help with overall well-being, energy, metabolism, and immune function. Vitamin D and calcium, for example, are essential to bone health and more functions. And obviously, not only can you get those through foods, but you can also take any type of vitamin C or D pills. I take those every morning actually for vitamin C. So whatever you got to do to get your vitamins, definitely do that as well. Water intake is often overlooked, but dehydration can impair performance. Not only should musicians keep hydrated, but we also need to maintain electrolyte balance to prevent cramping and fatigue. And we all know the relationship between fatigue and a portfolio career. And obviously you see a lot of, energy drinks and things like that try to say that they have electrolytes in them and that's better than water, whatever. Like nothing's really beating water at the end of the day, because a lot of that stuff still has a lot of sugar in it, and it's still not as good for you as just drinking water. So keep that in mind. Again, you might not go as extreme as me where I'm drinking water 95 to 90 whatever percent of the time every single day, but it's just something to kind of cut back on those other things and start incorporating water more into what you do. That is kind of the suggestion, I think. Foods high in fat as fat takes a long time to digest, and this makes the body sluggish. Oh, okay, I skipped a part. It says, is there anything I should avoid? Okay, so this is where we talk about those bad fats, the things that are more considered junk food. Foods also make you feel full. Foods that make you feel full before having consumed enough carbohydrates, which you need as an energy source. In short, avoid fried foods, red meats, nuts, and whole milk dairy products. As far as nuts go, I don't really eat any type of peanuts, but it's like such a hot debate on which ones are the good ones and which ones aren't the good ones. So again, another thing you might want to research, like which ones are not like high in salt and sodium and things like that, which ones are more healthy. But again, everything in moderation, like all this stuff. I think the biggest thing about dieting in general is moderation. You can't have too much of one thing. You have to kind of find a balance for everything, which is hard to do. Foods high in fiber require a lot of energy to be processed, causing bloating, gas buildup, cramping, or diarrhea. Such foods include broccoli, beans, berries. So again, you might not want to go super heavy on those. Caffeine. Unfortunately, it would be best to resist the urge to buy a coffee for performance, as caffeine is dehydrating. If you are a regular coffee drinker, cutting down on caffeine on the day of performance may result in a withdrawal headache, so make sure to drink additional hydrating liquids before your performance instead of cutting down on your caffeine. Water break. Which is basically what I said earlier. I've never had that issue because I don't drink coffee, but I know people that drink it every single day and people that are musicians that drink it every day. So, probably don't want to do that as much. And if you're a vocalist too, like you already know, there's very strict rules to maintaining your vocal performance. And there's certain things that you should drink and certain things you absolutely should not drink. Listening to your body is the key. If you know certain foods do not sit well with you, it is best to avoid them. So how about when I'm on tour, I can't plan my meals and I can't dictate when to eat, which this could apply to other instances as well. Just during touring, musicians often eat late. If you cannot eat before performance, buy small healthy snacks, whole grain crackers, granola bars that you could eat within 30 minutes of the performance. If you know there will be an interval or intermission, think ahead and buy another healthy snack you can eat during that time. Once the performance is over, and if you are presented with endless buffets, as is sometimes the case, first help yourself to lean protein and vegetables. And if you must go for seconds, stick to the vegetables. If you would like a third helping, top your meal with fruit. So again, it's just talking about the choices that you're making. It's not necessarily saying completely cut out these things. It's just saying maybe incorporate more healthy things and start leaning more into the healthy things. Because I think it's hard to I know this is, applies to me for sure. Like certain foods, you're just gotta have it because you're just used to eating it. But it's just slowly but surely shifting away from that and then shifting into the healthier options. And finally, it says avoid eating huge meals, especially if you are eating late at night, as this might hinder your sleep and add to your fatigue. Or if you already suffer from I'm not even gonna try to read that, acid reflexes, let's just call it that. You will experience heartburn and discomfort. So be resolute and stick to smaller portions. Needless to say, stay hydrated before, during, and after the performance. So that's pretty much it for that article. But again, it's, and this comes down to every individual, right? Your body better than anybody else, or you should, hopefully, especially when it comes to what you're putting in your body. Just know how things make you feel and try to be as well-rounded with it as you can. And it might take you a while, because again, it's taking me a while. I've got this thing figured out, but a lot of the food stuff, don't have that figured out still trying to find a balance for myself. And I don't tour, I don't sing, I don't perform live, so I don't even have nearly as much responsibility to maintain this as some other people do. But if you're out there and you tour and you do live performances, you got a lot of responsibility to take care of yourself and do these things. So I just wanted to kind of go over that today, because I think it's something that, again, might not always be talked about, but hopefully you guys get something from that article, and definitely check it out, read it again. The other one, like I said, by Berkeley, and it's kind of similar. I think it has a little bit different takes to it and a little bit more information, but that one's pretty good too. So yeah, hopefully you guys got something out of this. If you have any type of diet going on as a musician, let me know in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on this overall, and what are you gonna plan to do if you don't have a diet? How are you gonna start implementing some of these things into your daily life? Let me know in the comments below. We'll be back on the 18th, 2 weeks from today. No, the 16th, what the hell am I talking about? The 16th is 2 weeks from today. We're gonna be talking about world building, which for me, world building is mostly the projects that I create and the themes around those projects. To me, I call that world building. It's coming up with themes and really just fleshing out an entire world around that body of work through content, through collaboration, and then obviously through the music itself. So that's gonna be pretty good. It's mostly gonna be probably my takes on it, my experience with it. But if I can find any articles, I'll include those too. So, again, hopefully you guys got something from this. Man, I'm, voice is still kind of raspy over this last few months of just dealing with winter, and I'm hoping winter is on its way out soon. But It's crazy we're already in March. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend, but thank you guys again for watching. Stay safe, stay positive. We'll see you on the 16th, and take care until then.